Thank you, Sucheta, Mr. Bhargav, Vasu, and members of the audience. I was given a fantastic introduction, but there was one small point that was left, which I couldn't resist not mentioning it now. Yes, it's a fact that Narasimha Rao made me a cabinet rank minister of a committee which was supposed to be dealing with the WTO issues of labor standards and international trade. And he housed me in the Commerce Ministry. At that time, Chidambaram was the Minister of State for Commerce. So the bad blood between me and him started when his secretary came to see me to say that now that you've been appointed in the Ministry of Commerce, you should pay a call on the minister. So I said, I have a problem. I'm a cabinet rank minister and he's just a junior Minister of State. So he should call on me and not me on him. That's how it all started. And I think it will end well from my point of view. I have to congratulate Mr. Bhargav because I have been in this field of exposing, and I know what the stakes are. They are huge, people are trying to lose a lot, and they're very well organized, and they can play havoc, particularly if you are an individual. In my case, although people criticize me for being a politician and that I'm doing this for political reasons, but the framework of politics itself is a protection. And consequently, it's far more difficult to target me the way they can target an individual. Of course, I have an advantage. I've led a life like that of a sannyasi. So therefore, there's very little to find. You can't find any girlfriends, you can't find any Swiss bank accounts, and whatever I do is quite open. And therefore, it's very difficult to nab me on any of those usual things on which people are getting blackmailed. I can tell you many of my political colleagues are terrified of taking the word of a Congress politician who's in power today, because maybe they will get exposed or their bank accounts in Switzerland or Macau or some other place find a publicity in the newspaper. So I think when I see an individual taking this courageous stand to write this book, it's very well written, I must say. I didn't know that civil servants could write good English. Very well written and very clear. I particularly would like you to read from the points of view from the present context, page 157 onwards, where he deals with bilaterals. Because that's a very important subject which I will deal with today in the context of Jet Etihad and how that is going to affect Air India. And then is chapter 13, is it murder or is it suicide? Well, in my opinion, it's attempted murder. Air India is not dead yet. And if you people vote correctly in 2014 election, we will revive Air India. That I can tell you in my. Because the Air India represents more than 100 crore people. That's a huge market. And that's why everybody wants to now take control of India. If you were to ask which is the airline today which is flying out the most number of Indian passengers abroad, is it Air India, Jet Air, Indigo, Go Airlines, or any of those, or just SpiceJet? No. It is Emirates. Emirates belongs to a what? A city-state. In UAE consists of 4 kingdoms, I think. 7 kingdoms, yes. And they don't want to work there because whenever they need money, they dig a hole in the ground and oil comes out. You raise the price a little and sell. The day India, and India is very in the striking distance of it, starts using commercially hydrogen fuel cells for automobiles, then you will see most of the Arab countries will have to go back to their tents and their camels because they will not be able to make money by digging holes in the ground. So here is a city-state, and it's a state, and bilateral agreements is what? Is the permission to fly so many flights or measured in terms of number of seats or number of passengers that can be carried. Instead of saying passengers, you say seats. So this is an agreement between India, 1 billion plus people, and some microscopic country called UAE. And that microscopic country is able to become the largest flyer of your passengers, and not Air India. Air India was once upon a time the largest flyer, but it started bleeding, and it has now reduced to a situation where it is taking a back seat. So these, and India has signed 4 separate agreements, according to me, with UAE, with one country. One country, you're supposed to sign only one bilateral. But you have signed 4. One with Dubai, another with Abu Dhabi, and third with one other, Salam Sheikh or whatever, and fourth maybe with Dawood Ibrahim, I don't know. Who's resident there. Now, why? Now, Emirates can come here, fly from Bombay to Madras, can fly from, internally this big land peninsular country. But if Indian flights go to UAE, they can't fly internally. If you land in any of those airports, you have to, after that, travel by a bus. There's no further flights inside UAE. So therefore, why are we doing this? And the consequence of this is on Air India. The first thing they did was sign these huge concessions of bilaterals. Now, just as an illustration I'll give you, in this Jet Etihad, what has happened is that the deal between Jet and Etihad is between a private company and a company which is owned by the Emir of the Abu Dhabi. I am not interfering in that. If Jet wants to commit suicide, that's their outlook. But side by side, we have signed a bilateral permitting an increase of seats to Jet and also an increase of seats to Etihad. Etihad originally was given only recently, just before this deal came in. Last year, late last year, they were given an increase of seats from to 13,000. That is, you can fly flights to the extent that you carry passengers of 13,000 per week. Now, they were only flying 8,000. So why was the need? Now, they had already 8,000, of which they were flying only 6,000. They were not using the capacity of 8,000. Why did you increase to 13,000? That was one thing. And now in this new deal, they have increased it to 50,000. Why? I mean, when they are not able to fulfill the 8,000, leave alone 13,000, why are you now giving them the facility to fly 50,000 per week? And Jet, because you want to show uniformity, Jet can fly 40,000. But let me tell you, this deal, when you put it through a microscope, it's only a matter of time that Jet will be swallowed by Etihad and Naresh Goyal will become a Bollywood film producer. That's the game plan. This is not to revive. So, therefore, what will happen? 40,000 plus 50,000, 90,000 seats per week. Etihad can fly. And it has got all kinds of alliances also. So, it will share it with them. And your passengers who today can fly Air India from Bombay and Delhi directly to New York, increasingly they will have to go to Dubai or to Emirates or go to the Abu Dhabi and change planes there and then fly out. Which means what? All these big airports that you're building, they'll all become ghost airports. All this is being put in writing by the Prime Minister's office to the Civil Aviation Ministry. But after putting it in writing, the Prime Minister says, what can I do? He's the Prime Minister of India, sitting in the most powerful chair in India, probably for one of the most powerful chairs in the world. He's not able to do it. In my last lecture, I told you, don't be surprised. What is important in India is today the mindset that Mr. Bhargav has, courageously coming and putting it out. There's no need. You could have read the Comfortable Retired Life. Maybe they would have, out of consideration for you not writing the book, given you another new posting. If you have not written the book, now only the next government can give you. Don't worry, we will. No, I'm not saying you're asking. I'm saying that a man of this talent cannot go waste. And today, expectation of life is now rising so much. And if the Prime Minister of India can be 82, you're only 58 plus. So, therefore, I'm saying that this means a stranglehold of foreign airlines in India. Why are they doing it? Why is the Prime Minister so powerless? I told you that in the circus you will have 5 lions, well-fed, strong, can kill anybody, and they will be in a cage. A ringmaster will walk in, lean, thin ringmaster, crack the whip and say, climb up. And all these 5 lions will climb up. Then he says, open your mouth. They'll all open their mouth. He'll put his head in each one of them. Everybody will clap. And then he'll tell the lions, go back to your cage. And they'll go back. Why do the lions obey? Because from childhood, from pup stage, they've been brought up to obey. So, in Sanskrit, we call lion a Singh. So, Manmohan Singh is a circus lion. And an Italian ringmaster can make him do what he wants. Now, I can tell you, if you want my substantiation for it, it will take a little more time. But I can tell you that my preliminary research show that why did this deal between the Jet and Etihad in the bilateral between India and UAE go through? He says 1 month. Well, I mean, he's being generous. In May of this year, first week, the Standing Committee of Parliament, which is authorized to examine the budgetary accounts of the civil aviation, wrote strongly against these bilaterals and said we should never agree to it. The CAG had already said no more bilaterals. We have given away too much. But this shocked the Standing Committee. It consists of all parties, the Standing Committee. The report was given to Parliament on the 5th of March. And the consequence of it, all the top civil members of the civil service met on 18th of May of this year. I mean, every ministry secretary, it's called the inter-ministerial group. There cannot be a higher administrative level committee than that. They met and they said, we don't agree to this Jet Etihad deal, particularly the bilateral agreement. If they want a deal without the bilateral agreement, no problem. But the deal without the bilateral agreement will never take place. The Etihad will never agree. And I'll tell you why it won't agree. So they said this bilateral cannot be agreed to. 18th May. On 20th May, Mr. Ajit Singh, Civil Aviation Minister, walks into the office of the Prime Minister. And he says, he throws a tantrum. So the Prime Minister says, form a committee. So the usual musketeers were summoned. Chidambaram, the second most corrupt politician of UPA, the first most you know. Anand Sharma, generally never sober. He is the second. Salman Khurshid, who is said in his book, I don't know whether you have seen the book of 1987, where he said that Muslims were happy when the Hindus murdered the Sikhs in 1984 for all the atrocities that the Sikhs committed on the Muslims in 1947. And that book has not been retracted. I don't know what it is. Then in Batla House, says Sonia Gandhi had tears in her eyes. The terrorists have been shot dead. Yes, that's what he said. Of course, Sonia Gandhi has taken a lot of interest in terrorists. For example, those 4 people who were convicted by the Supreme Court to be hanged for the murder of Rajiv Gandhi. She wrote a letter to the president saying, no, they should not be hanged, they should be given life imprisonment. Why she wrote that letter, I don't know. She even sent her daughter to the jail to ask how one of them, Miss Nalini, was doing. So I think she has a special soft corner for terrorists, so it's understandable. Now, this Salman Khurshid was there, already fretting that UAE is feeling upset. And the 3 of them, there was 1/4, Ajit Singh. Well, Ajit Singh is a friend of mine, so I won't say anything against him. But he is easily amenable to certain things. So the 4 met on 21st of May. Yeah, April, excuse me, not May. It's in April, is right. They met in April. Then they go and report to the PM that we have decided to overrule the interministerial group. Prime Minister said, okay. Then they fly immediately to Abu Dhabi, and there Mr. Naresh Goyal is also sitting by, and the Amir also is there, and they signed the agreement within 3 days. That's what I said, 3 days. I have never seen, this is a world record, that we are capable of signing an agreement in 3 days after a meeting of the interministerial group. The law requires that the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs must pass before a deal can be processed. And the SEBI must consider it. The FIPB must consider it. So many clearances are there. No, but they went and signed it. And said the clearances will come later. Now, why was this done in this way? It's extraordinary. Because Etisalat, telecom company, it had got through the purchase of a license which was illegally done. The license was given by Raja at 2001 prices in 2008, when the price was 10 times the 2001 price. Saying that, in order to keep the tariffs down, I'm giving it at 2001 prices. But the moment these telecom companies got it, they sold it to foreign companies at 8 times the price. The market price is 10 times, but they sold it 8 times. They got a huge bonanza without doing any work. And Etisalat was one of them which got it. And unfortunately, I went and filed a case, and that all the 122 licenses were cancelled. And Etisalat's license also cancelled. Etisalat was mighty upset because they had not only paid to the company, but they had paid to certain influential people, and very, very influential people. So they threw a tantrum. So then they were told they wanted the bribe back. There was a lot of bribe, 60,000 crores. And I already explained to you how it was distributed in my last lecture. And they were pacified by saying, we'll give you something else. The chairman of Etisalat is also the chairman of Etihad. So therefore, the whole of India's civil aviation is at your command now. They handed it over to Etihad. But it's not over, because I'm on court. Court has issued notice. Ask them to explain. 4 weeks was given. Now 4 weeks are over. So I'm going back on Tuesday to raise the question why they have not answered, and let it be an ex parte order if necessary. This Jet Etihad order thing is a clever camouflage, because Jet was owned by a body called Tailwinds. Now, what this Tailwinds, nobody knows the head or tail of it. But it owned it. Naresh Goyal had, I think, 8% of the share of that Tailwinds offshore body, the Isle of Man. So the deal couldn't be processed because he has to have majority ownership. It was Tailwinds which owned Jet. So Naresh Goyal had to have 51% at least, after giving the share of 26% to Etihad. So he had to buy back the Tailwind shares owned by others. That cost money. So therefore, they took a loan not from an Indian bank. They took a loan from a Geneva-based Hong Kong Shanghai bank. So Naresh Goyal got a loan. He bought the shares. Having bought the shares, he mortgaged it with the Hong Kong Shanghai bank. Now the shares could become worthless, so somebody had to give guarantee. Etihad gave the guarantee. So wonderful. Etihad gave the guarantee. Now what will happen tomorrow? Naresh Goyal does not pay back his loan. The bank becomes the owner of the shares, but the bank doesn't want to run an airline. So he tells the Etihad, hey, you gave the guarantee, you now pay and take these shares. So 100% of Jet shares will now become Etihad, and Jet will merge into Etihad. That, in my opinion, is the game plan that is being worked out. In our country, we do not allow foreign airlines to own more than 26% of the shares of any airlines. And that's a new policy. And that policy was recently passed because airlines are sick. So therefore, they must be allowed to take money from abroad. How much? 26% of the equity, foreign direct investment. Well, using that, suddenly another airline comes in called AirAsia. And it decides to enter into a joint venture with Mr. Ratan Tata and somebody called Bhatia, based in London. And says, I'm going to start AirAsia too. And of course the newspapers all have been given to nice parties, dinner parties and all. They write lovely thing, AirAsia is coming. I looked at the deal and I said, my God, the policy passed is that foreign direct investment shall come from a foreign airline to an Indian airline for that Indian airline which is suffering financial losses. Now this AirAsia has come and it has invested in a joint venture along with Tata's and Bhatia. I never knew that that Ratan Tata could fly, because the minimum requirement is that the airline, the foreign airline, can invest only in an Indian airline. But Tata is not an Indian airline, not to my knowledge. I've never seen him fly. So he then, they enter into this alliance. So I go to court and said this is illegal. Court has issued notice on that, and we are pretty far advanced. That deal will not go through. That's an illegal deal. Then suddenly emerges from the shadows a very famous lady called Neera Radia, former employee of the Singapore Airlines. And she brings about a new deal, again with Ratan Tata. The same thing, same illegality. Of course, she tells on one of the tapes, she says that every bilateral agreement, the bribe paid per seat, per week, for a year, is $2,345. Now, I don't know how she knows those exactly. But she negotiates second. That's also illegal. So if you have Jet Etihad, which later on becomes Etihad only, Emirates already number one, then Air Asia, everybody says wonderful, but when I looked at the proceedings of the Malaysian parliament, I found this fellow has not paid the Malaysians, and he now left Malaysia and gone to Indonesia. And he comes here and addresses a press conference and he says, Indians have stupid laws. I don't care for Indian laws. Well, you'll find out the hard way that Indian laws do matter. So this is how this whole airline is being collapsed. You will not have all the, you see what happens is once these airlines come in, they're not going to train new pilots. They will snitch from Air India. Air India gone. Already the Air India has not paid back salaries for so many. So the Air India is gone. And then Indigo gone. All the private airlines will go. And we will be back to a situation where all airlines in India are run by foreigners who have no special expertise. I mean, Dubai or Abu Dhabi, they have no special ability in flying, you see. Yes, they are good in flight of money, but not flight of human beings. So, therefore, India's independence is threatened, because you must remember, most of our airports function dually for the defense. Defense Ministry not consulted. Well, certainly also we find that this Etisalat, at the time Etisalat, I produced an IB report to show that most of the directors of Etisalat were Pakistanis. And since they bought a license from Swan Telecom, whose owner was also Dubai's right-hand man, I mean that is Daud's right-hand man, Shahid Balwas. Used to have a private airline in Palanpur in Gujarat, which I had to shut down, shut down. Now, they had Pakistani office bearers, office bearers only, and directors. That means this company was not a telecom company. It was actually a real estate company, but Raja's friends, so Raja ensured that they got a license. They only named themselves as Swan Telecom. There was neither Swan in it nor Telecom in it. And they got the license. And therefore, if Etisalat was going to run its business in India, they would have to put up towers all over India, which means the Pakistanis can come in through the Etisalat labor force. So there is a national security issue. The Home Ministry had written a report. Nobody cared for it. I brought it to the Supreme Court notice, and that's how the license got cancelled. You're playing with national security when you're dealing with airlines. Airlines is a very important thing for us because India is a large country. Should be able to travel to the length and breadth of India by cheap fares so that it leads to national integration. The whole of Northeast complains that they cannot come to the rest of India because they have to pay such high fares. And these high fares are because of the taxes that have been imposed on the air fuel and other things. We are the highest taxed air fuel in the world, if I'm not wrong. And these things have to be rationalized. This airline industry can tomorrow be revived. And the fares cut to 1/3 of what it is today if we change our tax structure, the way we tax the fuel, landing rights in airports and so on. But it has been deliberately made so that the Indians are at a disadvantage and the foreigners are at an advantage. And of course they pay. How did Air India ultimately go on this road to being bled to death? First I told you is bilaterals. Second is all the profitable routes of Air India was being shut down by one of the previous airlines minister, civil aviation minister. I mean, we shut down so many of our profitable routes so that other airlines can fly. Third is they bought aeroplanes from France, from Brazil even, and from United States. Huge number of planes. And they're all lying in the airport. They're not being used. Go and see Air India Express. How many planes are lying on the ground? Now they're selling as junk, brand new planes, 777. Boeing 777 to Etihad. At what price? 1/3 the price they paid only 2 years ago. So this is who authorized the purchase and at what price? I have written a letter to the Chief Vigilance Commissioner that please ask the CBI to ask our private airlines how much they paid for their aircraft, Airbuses that they bought, and how much the government of India has paid. According to me, Indian government has paid 4 times the price that the private airlines have paid for the same airline.